A nervous young man stammers an introduction, revealing himself as Sora, a high school student and Onmyoji, while awkwardly apologizing for accidentally starting a hairline stream. Comments from unseen viewers question his identity, mock his camera work, and express concern when he mentions exploring the lower levels of the Haryuku dungeon, implying that if true, he might be dead. Sora cheerfully announces to his 5 viewers that he will defeat any monsters using Onmyoji techniques, inviting them to watch closely. Suddenly, a monstrous creature appears, prompting him to prepare for battle. With a bright smile, Sora confidently casts a spell, summoning a glowing magical circle as he readies to confront the monster. Viewers react with confusion and skepticism, questioning the lack of incantation and magic tools, and noting the improvised nature of Sora's technique. Sora explains that Onmyoji techniques differ from magic by refining curse energy within the body. Meanwhile, the viewer count steadily drops, with ominous messages vowing not to let him escape as the number dwindles to 1. Sora nervously asks if anyone has requests for techniques or monsters to defeat next, but silence greets him, panicking. He wonders if stripping on stream would be funny, only to see his viewer count drop to 0, shocking him. Meanwhile, a weary figure trudges through a cave, lamenting the long trek from the lower dungeon levels. He considers watching another streamer while walking and notices a massive 50,000 concurrent viewers on Ogami Rika's stream, amazed by her popularity. Ogami Rika cheerfully greets her audience, checking if the screen and audio are working properly. Sora watches her stream, overwhelmed by her charm and the flood of supportive comments, questioning what sets her apart, perhaps her chest size. Back in the dungeon, Sora struggles to do push-ups to build his pectoral muscles, embarrassed as a man with an eye patch watches. The man awkwardly asks what Sora is doing there, wondering if Sora is some new, oddly shaped monster, while Sora internally panics at the awkwardness. The man with the eye patch demands if Sora got lost in the lower levels. Sora nervously explains he was doing a dungeon clearing stream using Onmyoji techniques, but his viewers drop to 0. The man bluntly says the only reason Sora is still alive is because he got lucky, apologizing if it sounds harsh. Sora listens as the man explains monsters in the lower levels are on a completely different strength tier than the upper levels. Sora doubts the difference felt that big. The man warns that super-tier monsters have been appearing irregularly, and the number of monsters has increased significantly. The man reacts in shock as a monster self-destructs. He admits he's never heard of such a monster before and insists they must leave immediately. He grabs Sora, promising to protect him. Nearby, warning signs declare the area highly dangerous and require adventurers to submit exploration requests before entering. Outside the dungeon entrance, both catch their breath. Sora thanks the man for saving him. Relieved he didn't have to walk all the way back, Sora asks the man's name, but the man refuses, explaining he doesn't exchange names with other adventurers until they've met 3 times, citing how many people lose their lives in the dungeon. A man with an eye patch named Katsu-san is praised for his efforts in the dungeon. Sora excitedly confirms his name and thanks him. A worker reminds them to submit their dungeon entry permits properly, or people will assume they've died. Later, Sora reflects on Katsu-san's fame as a renowned adventurer who fights monsters in the deepest dungeon parts, wondering what sets him apart since he does the same. Sora contemplates his obsession with viewer numbers, linking it to his reincarnation as an Onmyoji. He recalls feeling out of place since childhood, as if he didn't belong or had forgotten something important. One night, watching a meteor shower, Sora remembers his past life as an Onmyoji who read stars and controlled curse energy. He recalls sealing a powerful yokai attacking his land but being gravely injured, leading him to cast a reincarnation spell on himself with his last strength. The source of Sora's discomfort is revealed. He is not wearing an eboshi, a traditional headwear considered essential in the Heian era. He panics, explaining that showing one's head without an eboshi was deeply embarrassing, comparing it to underwear for the head. Sora wonders why there are no Onmyoji in the modern era. Admitting he's never seen one, he recalls monsters appearing in dungeons everywhere, initially thinking he'd reincarnated into another world. When asked if he knows what an Onmyoji is, he confidently answers yes, but then doubts arise as others dismiss Onmyoji as frauds selling fake talismans to cure diseases, laughing at the idea. After researching history, Sora confirms this world is the same one he lived in, but 1,000 years later, he reflects on how Onmyoji were once revered heroes who protected people and were a popular dream job for children. Over time, their true role was forgotten, and now they're generally seen as charlatans. Despite this, he admired and studied Onmyoji techniques, proud of the profession, determined. He prepares himself with resolve. Sora declares his goal to become a famous dungeon-clearing streamer and restore the honor of Onmyoji. He starts streaming from a dungeon entrance, greeting his viewers. Though only 2 watch, he enthusiastically promises to defeat monsters using Onmyoji techniques and urges viewers to watch closely. Suddenly, a notification pops up criticizing his use of obvious CG effects, shocking him. His viewer count drops to just 1, and then 0. Panicked, he vows not to let the viewers escape and awkwardly wonders if stripping would be funny. Realizing no one is watching anymore, he decides to end the stream and head back. As he leaves the dungeon, he hears a scream, causing him to pause and question what he just heard. A frantic voice urges to run away, warning that things are bad and calling for Rika-chan to get out immediately. The camera recording the scene shakes as the voice panics about an irregular. Rika, a girl in a torn outfit, sits on the ground, startled and unable to move, her sword lying nearby. A massive, grotesque monster with multiple eyes and horns looms over Rika, who faces it from the floor. She worries silently, realizing she has twisted her ankle and can only dodge its attacks for so long before she won't be able to avoid the next strike. Memories flash through Rika's mind, her family and a pet named Marin, who hated walks. She accepts her fate, thinking her life is about to end. Suddenly, a voice calls out, asking if she is okay after hearing a scream. A young man with a distinctive white streak in his dark hair appears, surprised by the huge monster blocking the path. The monster glares intensely while Rika looks on nervously. The young man admits he can't see past the monster because it blocks the way. Rika recognizes it as a super-tier monster and doubts any adventurer could defeat one alone. The young man expresses relief seeing her unharmed, but the danger remains clear. The young man worries about someone who rushed in blindly, fearing any harm that might come to them would be his fault. The massive monster roars and lunges forward, but the young man calmly forms a hand sign, preparing to act. The monster suddenly turns, startled by the unexpected move. Rika calls out to the monster, holding out a treat, amazed that dog treats can affect monsters too. The monster's attention shifts toward her, confused but intrigued. Rika, tears in her eyes, urges the monster to let the young man escape. The monster snarls fiercely, but its movements begin to slow, caught in a strange effect. The young man activates his second technique, focusing intently as threads of water-like energy swirl around him, preparing for his next move. The massive monster collapses heavily to the ground, smoke and debris trailing from its body as it falls. Rika watches in stunned silence, clutching the treat she held out moments ago. Sora's expression mirrors her shock, both caught in the gravity of what just happened. Rika gasps in disbelief, barely able to process that the monster was taken down with a single strike. Sora's wide eyes and sweat-drenched face confirm his shock as he calls out her name in astonishment. The camera feed cuts back to the live stream, showing Rika safe and unharmed beside the fallen monster. She apologizes to her viewers for the sudden scare, smiling nervously as she assures them she's fine. The stream ends with a heartfelt thank you and a promise to return once she's calmed down. Comments flood in from viewers, questioning the surreal events they just witnessed during Rika's accidental stream. News reports and anonymous adventurers debate the legitimacy of the footage, while a link to the full dungeon clearing livestream is shared, sparking widespread intrigue. Comments flood social media, praising the incredible feat seen in the stream and debating the strength of the adventurer involved. Blog rankings spike, highlighting the popularity of anonymous Onmyoji techniques. Meanwhile, a woman leans over a tablet, determined and whispering that she won't let someone escape today. She taps the screen anxiously, blushing as she recalls leaving the last stream early out of embarrassment. Lying face down on her bed, she admits she still can't handle the attention. Trying to calm herself, she checks global news trends on her tablet. Shock hits her as she realizes Sora is trending #1 on social media. She scrolls through comments amazed by the sudden explosion of views and engagement on videos she uploaded that previously had barely any attention. Confusion and disbelief overwhelm her as she questions what is happening. She stares at the tablet, stunned that the stream abruptly ended without the usual thank you scene or any exchange of contact information. Her mind races, desperate to understand what transpired and planning to ask about it tomorrow, unable to sleep from the excitement and curiosity. A girl greets Sora with a calm tone, noting how relaxed his face looks this morning as the school building stands quietly behind her. Sora panics as his phone vibrates non-stop, fearing it might be a virus, and calls out for help. The girl takes the phone to inspect it and confirms the vibrations are notifications for comments and new subscribers. Not a malfunction. Sora jokes that even though she's the daughter of an IT company CEO, she wouldn't be able to fix a phone malfunction, and she quietly praises him, impressed. His expression turns blank as the girl tells him bluntly that he went viral, marking the start of his new life as a viral streamer. The live stream begins with a cheerful greeting, "Hello Onmyoji." As Sora awkwardly apologizes for accidentally streaming only his chin, chat messages flood in, repeating his unique greeting back and commenting on the unusual camera angle. Viewers excitedly announce it's their first time watching, coming from other streams, and joke about only seeing his chin. Sora reacts nervously to the overwhelming flood of comments and notifications, struggling to comprehend the massive number of 30,000 viewers watching. Despite messing up his name, the chat continues to support him with compliments and encouragement, making him wonder if this is the true power of going viral. Before diving into his stream, Sora addresses questions about his connection to Ogami Rika, confirming he wants to share information about her. He explains that after the stream ended, he personally guided Rika to the dungeon entrance where her agency staff were waiting to take over, ensuring her safety. Sitting casually with his camera, Sora admits he knows nothing beyond that point and chooses not to mention the strange, otherworldly scent he noticed when Rika leaned on his shoulder. He recalls being so nervous he only managed to ask if she preferred cats or dogs, to which she replied she's definitely a dog person, a fact he proudly acknowledges. He recalls how she said she's definitely a dog person, which led him to suddenly ask if she's a dog or cat person. She smiles softly, admitting she was waiting for his stream to start so she could thank him, having watched it just because he was so cute. She nervously tries to leave a comment thanking him but wonders if it even appeared amid the flood of messages. The sheer volume overwhelms her, and she debates sending a donation instead, worried about how much to give without seeming cheap or too extravagant. She settles on 5,000 yen as the perfect amount to show her gratitude. Confidently, she hits the send button, only to be met with a beep and a message stating the streamer does not accept donations. Surprised, she slumps over her tablet in disappointment. Meanwhile, he notices her comment pop up and reacts with shock and excitement, announcing to everyone that Ogami Rika just left a comment. While she looks on, flustered and amazed that he found it so quickly. She thinks about properly thanking him through her agency, but he reassures her not to worry about it. He asks about her leg, and she replies she's fine and will resume streaming next week. She smiles, amazed he noticed her comment despite so many others. The streamer cheerfully announces he's diving into the Haryuku dungeon using Onmyoji techniques. Spotting a monster, he confidently prepares to defeat it, summoning a glowing magical circle. Viewers flood the chat with praise, amazed by his power and speed. He blushes, feeling sorry for the monsters but notes no one accuses him of cheating. This is the power of going viral. He confirms he really didn't chant any spells. He begins explaining the difference between magic and Onmyoji techniques. Magic depends on artifacts found in dungeons and requires chanting to gather mana and cast spells, as well as an innate aptitude. The dungeon monsters react as he demonstrates his abilities. He explains that Onmyoji techniques refine the curse energy inside the body, shaping it into a technique and releasing it from a specific part of the body. Because of this, no tools or memorized incantations are needed. Smiling brightly, he declares Onmyoji techniques the best and asks if it's simple enough. Despite his enthusiasm, he admits struggling to understand the explanation fully. The streamer realizes he's trapped at a dead end in the dungeon and panics, but insists he can still push forward. He decides to climb up, only to find himself facing a sheer cliff, confirming the path is blocked. Calmly, he summons a glowing string of water energy, declaring it will help him climb. As he ascends, he warns that if the rock anchoring the string collapses, his climb will fail, reminding himself to stay alert despite the relaxing feeling. He reaches a darker part of the dungeon, apologizing for the poor visibility on his phone's flashlight. He notes they can proceed further inside, but the sudden darkness makes him cautious. Suddenly, something drips onto the ground, catching his attention. Looking up, he spots a large, unusual monster lurking above. The streamer struggles to capture it on camera, apologizing for the awkward angle as he tries to show it better. Despite the difficulty, he blushes slightly, embarrassed by the situation, while the chat warns him about the looming threat. The streamer struggles to keep the monster in frame, apologizing for the awkward angle and admitting he can't get it in the camera just right. Chat encourages him to do his best despite not seeing the monster clearly. Suddenly, he shouts for the monster not to move as he unleashes a powerful attack, striking it with a glowing magic circle. The monster's defeated remains drip down as the streamer apologizes repeatedly for the messy close-up. Chat questions if he one-punched the monster again. While he admits he still has no idea what it was, he shows the camera a pixelated image of the monster's eyeball, warning not to show close-ups but noting it looks good on camera. The streamer senses the air remains heavy despite defeating the monster and wonders if something else is nearby. Spotting a dark opening ahead, he calls attention to it. Approaching, he reveals a grotesque, pulsating object covered in faces and limbs, declaring it a cursed item. Holding the cursed item, he comments on its unusual nature and wonders if the earlier monster was protecting it. Chat reacts with surprise and questions the cursed item's authenticity. He asks viewers if they know about cursed items, expressing excitement about working with charms and cursed items as part of his role as an Onmyoji, though he admits he still has some reservations. The Onmyoji examines the cursed item, noting it radiates a powerful wave of flames and is rare. He realizes it holds enough curse power to blow away a whole mountain. Confirming it might be a high-rank cursed item, concerned about the danger, he contemplates the existence of such high-rank items. Excited by the potential value, he declares his intent to drain the cursed energy. Knowing it could sell for hundreds of millions, he strikes the item with energy, beginning the draining process. Suddenly, the Onmyoji is startled by a loud noise and hurriedly warns to wait. He checks the live chat and reacts with shock to a comment about the item's value in the hundreds of millions. Relieved, he reports reducing his cursed energy by about $98 while holding the item. Reflecting back, he recalls not knowing the true power of the item at the time and jokingly deciding to use its warm breeze as a hairdryer. The live stream becomes a hot topic online, surpassing 300,000 viewers, marking the broadcast as the start of a legendary event. The concurrent viewers surpass 300,000, and social media buzzes non-stop about the broadcast. A girl smiles, praising the streamer for effortlessly defeating tough enemies with a single hit, while also being naturally cute and charming, making him incredibly attractive. She responds warmly to the compliment. Then her expression shifts to thoughtful determination. She realizes that streaming alongside this person will surely boost Ogami Rika's popularity even further. Rika-chan quietly begins to formulate a mysterious plan. A girl with a blank expression is greeted with a blunt, "Good morning, Sora." She reacts silently, thinking morning greetings are always so blunt. The boy cheerfully admits his stream was very popular yesterday, but then his mood sours as he recalls accidentally destroying a super rare cursed item worth billions of yen. The girl tells him not to make that face, teasing that he's too cute and she might like him even more. The boy coughs, explaining he's also smashed several other strong cursed items he picked up. The girl reflects on how dangerous these items likely are and mentions adventurers who profit by selling cursed items found in the dungeon. She agrees with his decision to destroy them, noting there's no guarantee the buyers won't misuse them. The boy, tears streaming but smiling determinedly, vows to destroy any dangerous cursed items he finds from now on. The girl encourages him to wipe his tears, and he thanks her, calling her Kanazaki. She then asks what other cursed items they possess, crossing her arms thoughtfully. 3 cursed items are explained. One releases a deadly toxin at the user's life cost, another turns anyone who touches it to stone, and a third can freeze an entire city overnight. Each item has been transformed into harmless everyday objects. A bug-repelling flower activated by saying please, a magnetic necklace easing shoulder tension, and a cursed item that perfectly heats tea when added. The girl describes another cursed item that now predicts events 3 seconds ahead, causing slight shivers, and once showed a horrifying future that shattered the user's mind. She doubts a thrift shop would buy it without its box and instructions. The boy calls her name urgently, startling her. The girl asks to borrow the high-rank cursed item, promising not to misuse it. The boy agrees cheerfully, making an okay gesture. She scolds him for being reckless, but he insists there's barely any cursed energy left, so it's safe, and that she wouldn't use it for harm. She tells him to think carefully, then invites him to pick it up after school since she'll be home alone. He reacts in surprise as she quietly acknowledges the plan. The girl offers tea at just the right temperature, explaining her mom is out and she can't offer much else. She nervously brings out a special snack, which the boy guesses is matcha pudding, but she corrects him. It's soybean tofu. He reacts with surprise, realizing what she meant. The boy insists Kanazaki should have the snack since there's only one, but Kanazaki protests that Sora should eat it. Kanazaki admits he really likes it, calling it bland but addictive and nostalgic. He recalls how someone used to look at him exasperated whenever he ate it all the time. Kanazaki casually tosses the high-rank cursed item on the table, drawing a sharp warning about handling it carelessly. Then he shows a message on his phone from an entertainment agency called Pover, offering him a talent contract as an affiliated streamer. The girl wonders if it's a scam. He dismisses the scam suspicion, saying they'll probably pay the suspiciously high contract money. He explains that Pover is a top agency managing famous streamers like Ogami Rika, providing the latest streaming equipment and comprehensive support. The boy is impressed by Kanazaki's knowledge. The girl reveals that the CEO of Pover's son is her fiancé, chosen by her father. The boy reacts with shock and surprise. He reflects on how arranged marriages still exist. Even though Kanazaki is the daughter of a big corporation, she grimaces and mutters that it must be a legit company, so she should learn more about the contract details. Suddenly, the boy shouts out her name in alarm. The girl, holding a briefcase, turns with a dark, tense expression as she asks if it's Kanazaki. The boy opens the briefcase, revealing a high-tech aerial drone inside. The girl explains the drone was developed with a local factory unrelated to her father's company, funded by revenue from a smartphone app she created. She describes how the drone can continuously film the boy with automatic tracking. She admits avoiding attacks during battle streams was difficult, but incorporating the high-rank cursed item she borrowed will allow the drone to detect impacts seconds ahead and evade them. The boy is amazed, excited that he won't have to worry about his hairline showing on stream anymore. He asks why she is doing all this for him, and she admits she's been interested in drone development for a while and wanted a test flight. He thanks her warmly, saying this will improve his streams greatly, but she quietly thinks that she's the one who should be thanking him. Since childhood, everyone around her, adults and classmates alike, only saw her as the daughter of a world-class corporation. She wasn't very sociable and struggled to express her emotions, so she never had anyone she could call a friend. But Sora was different. He didn't shy away or try to get close for his own benefit. He was the only one who saw her as just Sakuya Kanazaki. She clenches her skirt, admitting he saved her and that she wanted to do anything she could for him. Yet she doubts herself, feeling that her efforts can't compete with Puver's ability to attract customers or their filming and editing skills. Her father saw value in those connections and wanted a deep bond. But she insists she has her own will too, questioning what she's even saying. She reveals the only time she ever defied her father was when she chose to attend the same high school as Sora, tired of living a life where she just followed orders. She confesses that despite her father's immense power, she feels she can stand up to him if she's with Sora. Aware this is a reckless decision offering nothing, she asks him directly, "So, Sora, will you?" She finishes with a passionate, blushing declaration, urging him to join the streaming company she's going to create. He responds with a bright, confident "of course," while giving an encouraging "okay" hand sign. He's shocked and frustrated, yelling that he agreed right away but still got scolded. The advice comes back sharply. Think it through more carefully and discuss it with parents since he's a minor. He admits that's a fair point but explains how Kanazaki helped him go viral with streaming, and if he can help Kanazaki's dreams come true too, that would make him happy. She smiles warmly, thanking him softly. She explains that in business, Kanazaki refers to her father, so it doesn't mean much personally, but she shyly asks if he could call her by her own name, Sakuya. He reacts with a stunned "no way." She urges him to just agree already, but he protests, embarrassed as an introvert who's been into Onmyoji for over 1,000 years. She offers to keep things as they are at school if he's embarrassed. He's caught off guard, blushing and speechless. He nervously stammers, promising to do his best, his face flushed and sweating as he calls out her name. She stares blankly into the cosmic void, overwhelmed by the emotional impact. He admits his heart is racing more than expected, while she floats amid stars and planets, calmly. He asks if she has decided on a company name yet, to which she responds with a small, businesslike smile that it's business as usual. She looks serious and advises him to ask any questions about joining the company before signing the contract. Holding up his phone, he reads a suspicious message about a 1 billion yen inheritance from a husband eaten by a giant anteater in a dungeon. His expression tightens as he realizes it's a scam, and a stern warning appears beside him, telling him to improve his scam awareness immediately. Rika Ogami remembers her happy family life with a kind dad and mom, a sometimes cheeky but close little brother, and their cute dog Marin. She wonders how she ended up becoming a dungeon streamer. She started dungeon streaming simply because it was trendy, playing as a high school adventurer who avoids monsters while having fun. Despite streaming almost every day and facing a tough viewer quota to renew her contract, she became a bit popular and was scouted by a streaming agency. However, her cheerful facade hides the burden her family faces after her dad became a guarantor for someone who disappeared, leaving behind a debt. Determined, she sends a message expressing her desire to be a professional streamer and to hear more details about the scout. She knows she must get more viewers and subscribers to pay off the debts her dad took on. Enough so her sick mom won't have to work day and night. Though nervous at first, the staff at the agency were kind and even prepared cute outfits for her, helping her work hard and enjoy streaming. Her battles with monsters were far from smooth, but she learns that their sponsor, Dream Group, is a famous company that sells weapons. She even had the chance to greet the CEO recently, showing her growing involvement in the streaming world. She recalls how when Kanazaki told the CEO about her, he wanted to support her by providing the latest weapons, a 2-for-1 deal for now. This allowed her to clear the upper dungeon level safely and grow her subscriber count, but viewers quickly lost interest. Skilled adventurers who ventured into deeper dungeon levels with magical tools attracted more viewers. Though they still met their view quota, the higher-ups didn't understand their situation and seemed unhappy with the current state of things. Seeking inspiration, she decided to explore the lower dungeon levels herself. expecting a quick fight and escape to add excitement. However, the monsters there were vicious, and the outcome was unexpected. If Sora hadn't appeared then, she believed she would have died. Thanks to his popularity, her subscriber count rose as well. She recognizes Sora's special talent and hopes he'll become a top streamer. Despite her family's worries and their wish for her to retire, she sees joining Pover alongside Sora as a great opportunity for both of them and refuses to miss this chance. Rika-chan gasps in shock on the phone, confessing she got rejected. A drone hovers nearby as the narration shifts to the scene in front of Roppongi Dungeon, where preparations continue. Sakuya Kanazaki appears, apologizing for the delay to Sora. Sora excitedly admires the drone, marveling at its quietness and cool design, while Sakuya warns him not to get too excited. Sakuya explains she chose the drone carefully for its battery life, quietness, and high-quality camera. Sora, looking pale, worries about the cost, but she assures him she will handle the finances. She promises this will prevent his hairline from showing on stream, and Sora reacts with amazement as she prepares to attach the microphone. Sakuya updates Sora on progress with their business venture, revealing that her father's consent was surprisingly easy to obtain. She suspects her father sees potential value in Sora and might use their company for his own benefit later. Sora beams with joy, while Sakuya reflects quietly that her father is just that kind of man. She grimly admits that for now, her father believes he's letting her go free, but once their company starts, control will be in their hands. She explains that online streaming depends on her father's company's technology, which uses special tech to bypass the dungeon's magical interference. He reacts with surprise and admiration, realizing he unknowingly jumped into the business discussion. I didn't know that. Kanazaki Group is such an impressive company. He laughs confidently, saying that as long as he's with Sakuya from Kanazaki, they can manage. She smiles softly, admitting sometimes his carefree attitude saves her. Suddenly, staff from the Dungeon Management Bureau arrive, causing her to nervously fidget. The staff remind them to submit the dungeon entry notification before entering, promising to handle recovery afterward. He asks if it should be submitted via app or handwritten, and the staff says although it's a paperless world, he prefers handwritten forms for their charm. The staff warns of many recent injuries, so they don't recommend rushing in, she acknowledges carefully. Outside the dungeon entrance, she tells him she won't go in to avoid being a burden and hands him earphones for communication. He asks where Sakuya is, and she encourages him not to push himself too hard. He promises to protect her no matter what monsters come. She urges him to focus on his Onmyoji techniques and capture great footage, clenching her fist with determination. He waves cheerfully, promising he's counting on her as the drone hovers nearby. She responds with a hesitant, quiet agreement, then awkwardly waves back. A staff member notices her entering through the back door and warns her that it's the office area, not meant for entry. She asks politely for a workspace to use her computer, and the staff happily offers her a spot, telling her to take her time and enjoy herself. She focuses intently on monitoring the drone's video and audio, knowing adjusting these during the stream is crucial. Her expression darkens as she vows to ban any harmful comments targeting Sora. She calls this room her battlefield while clicking away on her laptop. The staff offers her tea, which she gratefully accepts. Meanwhile, Sora stands inside the dungeon, greeting his viewers with a bright smile and a cheerful introduction as the Onmyoji. The chat floods with greetings and comments about the improved image quality and new camera angle. Sora thanks everyone for watching and announces they've upgraded their streaming equipment. He explains they'll now film using a drone lent by a friend, making the stream easier to watch, while hashtags and comments note that his friend is no ordinary person. Sora explains he was unsure where to send this special high-quality stream, so he chose to use Curse Star Chart Divination. The woman monitoring the stream confirms his knowledge of Onmyoji divination. While he reveals his goal is to divine the color of Sora-kuin's underwear, he holds out his hand, explaining this divination uses celestial bodies' movements to create hexagrams infused with magical energy to predict omens and the future. He invites viewers to divine each dungeon with him. He cheerfully announces they've arrived at a place with both good and bad fortune, explaining that depending on his battles, the fortune can turn either way, which makes it fun. He considers it more interesting to see if he can get through without issues rather than avoiding bad luck. With a smile, he declares he's ready to begin. He excitedly declares his plan to conquer the Roppongi dungeon today and spots a monster immediately. He calls out that Katsu-san has arrived as well, while chat comments note the dungeon's recent trendiness, the monster's activity, and Katsu's help with the injured. The woman at the computer wonders if Katsu-san is present today, mentioning he has 2 more meetings before revealing his real name. She asks what the other is talking about. Typing on her keyboard, Sora responds with surprise that many comments have requested to see the cursed star chart divination, confirming the audience's interest. He explains this is one of his more subtle onmyoji techniques and attempts to divine which of the two diverging paths they should take. His eyes sparkle with constellations as he points, declaring that if they go down this path, something will happen. The reaction is immediate. That's too vague. He moves forward, wondering if another cursed item awaits. He promises to destroy it if it's dangerous. Though the trauma of past encounters lingers, he warns everyone to be careful with the cursed star chart divination, as knowing too much about the future can lead to despair. Despite their depth in the dungeon, enemies are scarce. He reflects that it seems there isn't a cursed item here, but a really strong monster nearby prevents anyone from getting close. Standing before a massive door, he contemplates the obstacle ahead. Alarmed, he questions if the threat is like a dungeon boss in a game and wonders if this is dangerous. A voice urgently warns him that facing an irregular in the lower depths without preparation is perilous, urging him to turn back. He hesitates thoughtfully, then decides they've come too far to turn back now. With a confident smile, he summons a glowing magical symbol in his hand and declares he'll just take a quick look inside, promising it's only a peek. Suddenly, the door bursts open with a powerful force, prompting a shocked voice to question what he means by a quick look. Standing before a massive armored figure in a ruined chamber, he gazes up with curiosity and wonder, asking what the imposing presence could be. The tension rises as he faces the dungeon boss, ready for whatever challenge awaits. Sora braces himself and unleashes his second onmyoji technique, the Curse Layer Wall. Surrounding himself with a glowing protective barrier, the armored dungeon boss charges forward, swinging a massive weapon with overwhelming force. The attack crashes against Sora's barrier, causing a huge explosion that rocks the chamber. Exhausted, Sora struggles to maintain the defense, admitting that just blocking one strike is draining all his energy. Observing the enemy, Sora wonders if the boss's sword might be a magical tool like its armor. Questioning if it's a barrier, he realizes neither his life's water string nor curse layer wall techniques are effective, and the enemy remains unharmed. The stream chat warns that none of Sora's techniques are working and fears the fight could end fatally, urging him to run. Meanwhile, Rika-chan watches the stream anxiously, acknowledging the viewer's worries and questioning if Sora has a plan to win. A kind old man offers her rice crackers, advising that if she has something important to tell Sora, she should say it properly or regret it later. She silently resolves to believe in Sora despite her fears, understanding the difficulty of speaking up when someone hasn't turned their back yet. Sora apologizes to everyone for causing worry but reassures them with a confident smile, declaring that an onmyoji is a hero and he won't lose. A drone camera hovers nearby, capturing his resolve. He searches through his inventory, quickly correcting a mistake as he looks for the right item. The chat reacts with alarm, warning that something is coming. Sora finds the item labeled sword and prepares to use it. Raising his finger, Sora activates his third technique, summoning the sword with a burst of energy. The sword materializes in his hand as he focuses intently, readying himself for the next move. Sora swings the summoned sword with force, striking the armored enemy. The impact sends debris flying and shakes the ground. While the enemy braces against the powerful attack, Sora's determined gaze remains fixed on his foe as the clash intensifies. The summoned sword slices through a thick stone pillar, shattering it instantly. Sora grips the sword tightly, eyes sharp and focused. He lunges forward, slashing at the armored enemy with swift precision, forcing the foe to brace against the powerful blow. The enemy staggers, stunned by the strike that penetrated its defense. Sora grins confidently, explaining the attack might not have been deep enough with his left hand, but it still succeeded. The sword's impact clearly surprises everyone, raising questions about its power. Sora reveals the sword is nameless, picked up inside the dungeon. He explains the enemy's magic resistance is top tier, but its physical defense is weaker. Infused with his spiritual power, the sword's strength is boosted significantly. He warns that repeated strikes to the same spot could cause serious trouble for the enemy. The armored foe extends a clawed hand. Grinning sinisterly, Sora, sword ready, asks what the enemy is grinning about. The enemy admits Sora is the first to ever wound it, a rare and significant feat that shifts the battle's momentum. He declares there's no need to hold back as he summons a powerful lightning strike. The armored enemy quickly activates a magical harm shield, flames flickering around its protective barrier. The girl watching reacts in shock, recognizing the shield as the one worn by the legendary shield-armored monster rumored among adventurers, said to reside in the Roppongi dungeon. She explains it's a deadly urban legend where adventurers lose their lives the moment they pass through the gate. Meanwhile, the young onmyoji grins excitedly, ready to face the challenge, calling out to Sora with determination. The battle rages in a vast dungeon hall as Sora senses the overwhelming pressure from his opponent. He smiles confidently, telling his viewers he will look away from his phone screen for a moment, apologizing for not being able to read comments, and urging them to focus on the fight. Suddenly, the armored enemy introduces himself as Valsalk, startling Sora, who panics at the monster speaking. A warning comes from the girl nearby, explaining this monster has language ability and is unlike any other they've faced, urging Sora to be cautious. Sora nervously introduces himself as an Onmyoji, but the monster clarifies that his greeting is just formal, not a threat or warning. The armored foe grips his weapon tightly, preparing for the next move with a fierce stance. With a powerful swing, the armored enemy launches a devastating attack. Sora's eyes widen in shock as he narrowly reacts to the incoming strike, the intensity of the battle escalating dramatically. A powerful attack explodes against the dungeon wall, sending debris flying. The girl watching the fight shouts out Sora's name with panic and concern. Sora, hanging from a pillar by a magical string, grins and explains he dodged the attack by retracting the string and swiftly moving to safety. He notes the enemy's aggression and incredible power. The girl scolds Sora for being so carefree, warning him not to let his clothes get torn. Sora cheerfully declares he'll win and turn his fate into good luck, then launches the Life's Water String attack at the armored foe. Sora realizes his attack can't cut through the enemy's armor, which is enveloped in powerful magical energy with strong resistance to spiritual power. The armored enemy blocks the attack, preparing for the next move. The armored enemy swings a massive weapon with deadly intent. The attack, named Severance, glows ominously as it descends. Sora's eyes widen in alarm, realizing he can't dodge in time using the Life's Water String technique. Sweat beads on his face as he braces for impact, caught off guard by the overwhelming power. Sora activates his second technique, the Curse Layer Wall, surrounding himself with a glowing protective barrier as his Onmyoji powers flare in desperation. The armored enemy charges forward, swinging his massive weapon with brutal force. The attack crashes against Sora's barrier, exploding violently and sending debris flying. Exhausted, Sora struggles to maintain the barrier, admitting that blocking even a single strike drains all his energy. He wonders if the enemy's sword is a magical tool like the armor, suspecting it might be a barrier, despite using both the Life's Water String and Curse Layer Wall techniques. None of his attacks are effective, the enemy remains unharmed, and the situation grows dire, with the stream possibly ending in a fatal accident. Meanwhile, the viewers watching the stream express their worry, questioning if Sora has a plan to win. A concerned woman hesitates to tell Sora to run away before he turns his back. While an older man advises her to speak plainly if she has something important to say, he offers her rice crackers, acknowledging the difficulty of expressing such feelings, emphasizing how close they all are to Sora. The drone hovers steadily as the young Onmyoji apologizes for causing worry. He smiles confidently, declaring that being an Onmyoji means being a hero and vows he won't lose. A paper figure labeled, "Change of Clothes for Going Home," flutters down. The Onmyoji admits to a mistake and searches frantically. While urgent messages warn that the enemy is approaching, he finally finds the paper figure labeled, "Sword." The Onmyoji summons his third technique, calling out, "Deployment, Sword." The paper figure transforms into a glowing sword, which he grips tightly, his eyes wide with determination. The armored enemy charges fiercely, smashing the ground with explosive force. The Onmyoji braces himself, reaching out with his hand as the battle intensifies. A glowing sword suddenly appears as the Onmyoji grips it tightly. Eyes sharp with focus, the armored enemy lunges fiercely, swinging a massive clawed arm, but the Onmyoji dodges with swift agility, narrowly avoiding the strike. The sword pierces the enemy's armor, causing a sharp impact that surprises both of them. The Onmyoji grins confidently, noting that maybe his left-hand strike wasn't deep enough, but it still worked. The enemy's armor is breached, raising shock and questions about the mysterious sword. The Onmyoji explains the sword is nameless, found in the dungeon, infused with his spiritual power to boost its strength. He notes the enemy's magic resistance is top tier, but its physical defense is weaker, warning that repeated strikes in the same spot could cause trouble. The armored foe listens intently, clearly affected by the revelation. The enemy suddenly grins beneath the helmet, extending a clawed hand in challenge. The Onmyoji asks what the grin means, but the armored figure declares he's never been wounded before, until now. The Onmyoji declares there's no need to hold back as he summons a powerful lightning strike. The armored enemy immediately activates a magical harm shield, flames flickering around the shield as it braces for impact. A voice reacts in shock, recognizing the shield-armored monster rumored among adventurers, said to dwell in the Roppongi dungeon. The monster is infamous as a legendary urban legend where adventurers lose their lives the moment they pass through its gate. Meanwhile, a chibi version of the Onmyoji excitedly acknowledges the challenge, calling out his own name with determination. Sora dives forward with fierce determination, fully engaged in a deadly battle against the armored foe. Urgent voices shout that no one should intervene. Only Sora can survive this fight. The enemy's terrifying attacks slam down relentlessly, but cheers of encouragement push Sora onward. He strikes at the enemy's shield, which cracks but reveals itself as a mere facade. The armored foe grits his teeth, acknowledging the defense is weaker beyond the front. Sora's sharp eyes catch the vulnerability, preparing to exploit it. With swift agility, Sora lunges through the dungeon corridor, sword drawn and ready. The enemy braces, shield raised, as the clash intensifies in the narrow space. The armored foe blocks a strike, but Sora warns to protect the wound he inflicted. The enemy's armor shudders under the pressure, and Sora presses the advantage, aiming to keep the enemy off balance and vulnerable. The armored foe snarls as his defense fails, but the attacker calmly grips his sword, acknowledging the futility. With a powerful strike, the attacker shatters the enemy's armor, breaking through the shield's facade. The attacker apologizes for provoking the foe, explaining that aiming for a critical hit meant targeting the weak spot revealed by the enemy's own intelligence. The defeated foe collapses, smoke rising from the shattered armor. Watching nearby, a worried figure calls out the attacker's name in disbelief, unable to believe the outcome. The attacker, now cheerful, announces the ominous presence is fading and confirms the victory was safe. Comments flood in, praising the strength and skill shown. Amazed the lower-level irregular survived unharmed. The armored figure falls silent, then offers the challenger anything they want from the corner of the room, explaining these items belong to humans who challenged and were defeated by him. Among the scattered weapons and shields lie powerful magical tools worthy of the challenger. The armored figure reflects on the battle with no regrets, while the challenger, silent for a moment, then asks if he can truly take anything in the room. A smile spreads across his face as he prepares to choose. The challenger enthusiastically declares he wants the armored figure himself. Not any rare magical tool. Shock flashes across the armored figure's face as the challenger praises his serious demeanor and expresses happiness at the thought of the armored figure becoming his Shikigami. The challenger invites the armored figure to go on adventures together, but the armored figure protests, unable to leave the dungeon due to scarce magical energy outside. The challenger reassures him that as his Shikigami, he can live off his spiritual power, leaving the armored figure stunned and speechless. The third technique focuses on the balance of characters as the protagonist calmly chants, deploying a powerful seal. The seal activates, surrounding the armored figure with a glowing magical barrier that crackles with energy. The seal solidifies on the ground, marking the armored figure as the protagonist's Shikigami. He beams with joy, celebrating his new companion despite others questioning the wisdom of allying with an irregular. Reassuringly, he tells Sakuya the Shikigami is now his familiar. Back in the streaming room, the female streamer praises the success of the broadcast, acknowledging the deep-level irregular as the protagonist's pawn. The protagonist happily asks if everyone enjoyed the stream, receiving enthusiastic responses. He suggests ending the stream for the day, waving goodbye as the drone camera flies off. The protagonist thanks his viewers warmly, encouraging subscriptions and likes before the female streamer counts down to end the broadcast. Exhausted, he whimsically mentions wanting to eat Sora bean tofu. The stream ends with a note that the Sora bean tofu briefly trended, but quickly lost popularity due to its bland taste and unimpressive appearance. An older man calls out to a cloaked youth sweeping the ground, addressing him as child. The youth, holding a staff and wearing a hooded cloak, questions if the man is truly referring to him. The setting is the Heian period, and the man wonders who this boy could be. The man feels a strangely imposing presence and nervously asks who else he could be speaking to. He inquires if this is the home of the Onmyoji who defeated a demon on the main road recently. The cloaked youth confirms this and listens as the man explains he carries a letter from a noble princess who was saved by the Onmyoji. The youth is instructed to keep the letter secret and deliver it only to the master of the estate. The princess wishes to privately express her gratitude to the Onmyoji. The youth acknowledges the instructions with a calm smile, fully understanding the gravity of the task. The man reminds the youth to keep everything strictly confidential. The youth responds respectfully, then silently crushes the letter in his hands, concealing his expression beneath the hood. She commands the tube fox to burn something, criticizing foolish commoners who fail to grasp their master's greatness. She scolds that if there's time to meet women, training with her should come first, as flames engulf the scene. A figure covered by a cloth is called back inside for dinner. The young man cheerfully waves, asking if sweeping outside again was necessary, noting that sweeping away evil spirits with a broom is basic training neglected by their master. Walking away, the young man laments never receiving a letter from a woman despite other onmyoji being popular. The woman retorts that's why he's unpopular with women. He defensively questions her about his court cap, claiming it's unfashionable and will go out of style, while she calls his words shameless. The woman insists it's fine if the master sees her like this and demands he stop calling her master, revealing she has her own proper onmyoji teacher. She praises the master as the best in offensive onmyoji techniques for defeating demons, listing the first technique as twisting water energy and releasing it, and the second as releasing and hardening metal energy to create a shield. The third technique involves summoning and controlling matter or souls from vessels regardless of their mass. Though these are common techniques, the master's onmyoji arts surpass normal standards. He blushes at the praise but protests that his spiritual power isn't strange. She explains that normally, the third technique can't handle such massive objects, but it depends on how it's done. With his current spiritual power, he could handle something slightly larger than himself. He asks if she's measuring his size, and she playfully hits him, saying she's joking but that only the master can accomplish many things. He smiles nervously, acknowledging she catches on quickly, and she reminds him he recently broke the curse of the Mangacaped clan that other renowned onmyoji had given up on. She notes that while lesser onmyoji are suspicious and fearful of the master's great power, his fame is spreading among common people. He recalls a letter he received but quickly dismisses it. She affirms that he is indeed worthy of being her master and reveals her name. Abe no Saimai. Abe no Saimai declares her resolve to absorb all techniques from both masters, reach the pinnacle, and become a great onmyoji whose name will be remembered throughout history. She asks him to live long enough to teach her all his techniques. A voice asks if he is listening, warning that eating soybean tofu again will turn him into a bean. The demand follows. He won't go home until the master teaches him the secrets of the third technique. He lies in bed, nostalgic after using a lot of spiritual power the previous day, thinking he could sleep more since it's still 11 o'clock and a holiday. On a call, a young woman asks if it's a good time to discuss the next stream, suggesting ordinary dungeons might not be exciting enough after the shield-armored monster. The boy wonders which dungeon would make everyone happy. The woman hesitates, mentioning a recently talked about dungeon. She worries even Sora might not clear it, revealing no adventurer has ever seen the monster in the dungeon's deepest level. The boy cheerfully greets viewers at Shinjuku Dungeon, receiving lively chat comments praising him. The woman, watching the stream nervously, advises him to be careful as a street vendor nearby watches on. He apologizes for the long break between streams, explaining he was waiting for his companion to recover. Then, he announces the introduction of his new companion, holding up a small figure labeled Valsalk. The chat reacts with excitement and anticipation. The companion's form begins to materialize, and he notes this is their first meeting in this form. The companion finally appears, introducing itself as Valsalk. The small figure stands before him as he smiles warmly. Suddenly, the companion shrinks dramatically, causing surprise and confusion. The boy cheerfully asks the viewers if they find it cute, but the companion seems displeased. He comments that while conserving spiritual power might cause it to shrink during non-combat, this is excessive. The companion awkwardly greets the viewers with repeated sounds, while the boy enthusiastically announces the stream has started and urges everyone to say good morning or afternoon. The companion reacts nervously to the sudden shouting, while the boy looks startled by the unexpected outburst. The small creature nervously stammers a shy greeting, urged repeatedly to break out of its shell, encouraged to try harder. It hesitates but finally manages a timid good mornmyo. Afternoon? The boy beams with delight, holding the creature close, wondering what he's being made to watch. They move deeper into the dungeon's shadowy corridors as the boy remarks on how surprised he is to be watched in such a remote place. The creature confirms this quietly. Comments flood in from viewers, amazed by the trending dungeon and the presence of a shikigami, praising the boy's extraordinary reputation. A girl monitoring the stream excitedly notes the viewer count is climbing rapidly, the highest ever within just 30 minutes. The boy, energized, declares they will venture out to find a monster no one has ever seen, promising to showcase many impressive onmyoji techniques alongside his new companion. The hall is revealed as the deepest level, where victims have fallen to the riddle, their ominous auras impossible to fully conceal. A heavily armored figure commands Sora to stay behind him, who gratefully complies. Sora notices he's stepping on some writing and moves aside, his small companion hovering nearby. He wonders if this is the same place from the video he saw earlier. Puzzled, Sora reads the words, "Solve my riddle," etched on the ground. the message glowing with sudden intensity. The mysterious phrase echoes in his mind as the chamber fills with a sparkling, starry light. Volsalk senses the tremendous magical power emanating from the surroundings and nervously addresses Sora. The room glimmers with countless sparkling lights, illuminating statues of hooded figures lining the walls. Sora stands firm, captivated by the overwhelming energy. A dark, ominous voice declares the riddle cannot be solved but expresses keen interest in observing the rare human who commands monsters. Sora's companion, monitoring the stream, notes the riddle's mysterious nature and warns that failing to answer it might be fatal. Sora contemplates the starry pattern before him, deep in thought. Sora looks around cautiously, then suddenly spots a sparkling point on the floor. Excited, he plunges his finger into the glowing spot, declaring the answer is here. His small companion hovers nearby, startled by his sudden movement. A brilliant light erupts from the spot as the floor around Sora begins to crack and break apart. He stands calmly amidst the crumbling stones, watching the transformation unfold. The starry sky that had filled the chamber vanishes, the points of light representing star charts of the northern and southern skies fading away. Sora explains that among them was one false light at a single point, revealing his knowledge of astronomy, a specialty essential for an Onmyoji. Sora proudly announces he solved the riddle, feeling fortunate his specialty field matched the challenge. Comments flood in, amazed by the quick answer and wondering if the master of the room will now appear. Sora smiles confidently, ready for what comes next. A voice warns Sora not to let his guard down despite his brilliant riddle-solving. Reminding him the monster remains undefeated, Sora smiles confidently and notes the threat seems to be coming from above as the floor beneath him begins to crack. Suspense builds as a large spherical object suspended above starts rumbling, and then cracks open, revealing a banner that reads, "Correct." Sora and his companion watch in stunned silence. Sakuya Kanazaki, wearing a headset, comments that the riddle never promised the monster would appear after solving it. Sora, frustrated, pleads for the monster to show itself, reminding himself it won't hurt to reveal a little. He anxiously looks around the empty chamber. Sora suddenly declares he will graffiti the room and scratch the statue with his sword, urging Volsalk to do the same. Volsalk hesitantly mimics scratching with a pen, while Sora beams with excitement. A caption humorously notes Sora's intelligence has suddenly dropped and warns not to encourage his strange ideas. The statue's jaw cracks under the sword's strike, startling the boy who shouts in surprise. He turns to flee, shouting for them to wait, but the statue dismissively tells him to go home. A shadowy figure emerges, embarrassed to appear so soon after the riddle was solved, furious at being made a fool. The figure's eyes glow fiercely as he declares he never intended to let the boy leave. He questions how the boy gained such star knowledge at his age, asking if it relates to something called Onmyoji. The boy notices the dungeon entrance disappearing and calls out in alarm. The statue's cracked form begins to shift as it demands to know how much power the boy is hiding and if he has learned magic unknown to it. Its interest in the boy is endless, the old man's form becoming more defined and ominous. Sakuya Kanazaki gasps, realizing the statue was the monster itself, while the boy reflects that this monster is one no one has ever seen, just one no one ever noticed. Meanwhile, Sakuya slumps in frustration, noting the old man also wants to become as unnoticed as Sorakuin's room wall. The boy casually admits he recognized the statue's true body by chance, jokingly invoking "my proud whiskers." The statue reveals its purpose in hiding and giving riddles, intellectual curiosity through observing humans and other life forms, to stave off boredom. The statue laments that all other life forms were low intelligence and incompetent, disappointed by their thoughtless actions. Then, upon the boy's appearance, it declares it will forgive the discourtesy and indulge its thirst for knowledge to the fullest, until either boredom or the boy's demise. The statue traps them inside a space sealed by its magic, declaring there's no escape. The boy and his armored companion realize they can't go back, but the armored figure assures the boy that defeating the statue will allow their return. The boy notes this challenge is simpler and clearer than solving riddles. The statue warns that the boy's wisecracks won't last long as it raises a hand glowing with dark energy. It summons the statues around them, causing them to levitate ominously, preparing to attack. The boy shouts in alarm as the statue begins to float. The statue reveals it is using gravity-controlling magic, declaring that everything will soon rain down and taunts how the boy will avoid it. The armored figure clenches his fists, readying himself with the word severance. The armored figure swings his massive sword powerfully, cutting through the falling debris. The statue, unfazed, calmly states there's no need to avoid the attack. The boy cheers on the armored figure, praising Volsalk's skill, while the statue watches silently. The boy is suddenly flung into the air, spinning uncontrollably and exclaims in surprise. The statue mocks the boy's helplessness in zero gravity, taunting that he has no means to act. The armored figure growls in anger, warning that if the boy attacks, his hand might slip and slam him into the ground. The boy commands Volsalk to stay still, then summons a glowing thread of water magic. The armored figure urges the boy to go ahead as the boy prepares to strike, the water command thread shimmering in his hand while the ground beneath them cracks from the impact. The girl watches silently as a small figure calls out to Volsalk and Sorodano, confused by the cheerful scene. The boy rides on the armored figure's back, explaining he was saved by the unbreakable armor using the water command thread. The statue's shadowed face reveals a sinister plan, admitting he intended to keep the boy alive for long-term enjoyment, but now changes his mind. The statue's face twists with rage, declaring his irritation has won and he will kill them. His hands ignite with power as he prepares to strike. The boy reacts quickly, commanding the drone to come closer to him. The statue unleashes his strongest magic, stellar gravity, crushing everything hideously under its force. The boy calmly announces his second technique deployment, Curse Layer Wall, as the gravity crushes the surroundings. The statue is shocked that his gravity magic isn't working and demands to know why the boy can still stand. The boy explains it's not magic but Onmyoji arts, crediting Volsalk for helping him build spiritual power since arriving. He confidently states the Curse Layer Wall won't be easily defeated. The boy decides to leave the Curse Layer Wall active and shift to offense, noting the armor's magic resistance should allow some movement. He tells Sorodano that merely defending won't lead anywhere, and reveals he still has plenty of spiritual power left to crush Gravito instead. When asked what he means, he calmly prepares to demonstrate. A massive barrier rapidly expands, encasing the boy and the armored figure inside a gigantic protective dome. The armored figure is shocked, questioning what this phenomenon is as the barrier grows overwhelmingly large. The statue shouts a curse, unleashing black star gravity at maximum output, causing the ground to tremble under the immense magical power. The boy, undeterred, confidently declares he won't lose despite the overwhelming force. The statue screams in rage and desperation as the barrier holds firm, its face contorting with fury and sweat pouring down, unable to break through the boy's defense. The statue's face cracks violently down the middle, its expression frozen in shock and pain. The boy calmly announces his victory, leaving the statue stunned and unable to respond. The scene shifts to the dungeon entrance, where the boy and his armored companions stand beside the smoking remains of the defeated statue. The armored figure explains the statue lost composure and exhausted its life force, converting it to magic power until it collapsed. The boy cheerfully declares their success, while a drone hovers nearby. A female commentator praises the boy, calling him unfathomable and a legend born, amazed that he is the third irregular. The armored figure reflects on the statue's frustration at having to accept defeat gracefully, while the statue itself lies broken and bleeding, lamenting dying without understanding the boy. The boy listens intently, his expression serious. The boy stands alone in a dark space, a skeletal hand reaching toward him as he questions who the statue really is and what Onmyojutsu means. His expression brightens with curiosity as he eagerly asks if the listener is interested in Onmyoji techniques. The boy enthusiastically explains that Onmyoji arts are best understood by seeing and feeling them up close, scribbling rapidly. Suddenly, a voice protests, shocked to hear its name miswritten as Jara62. Insisting on a rewrite and refusing to forgive such rudeness even in death, the boy sheepishly apologizes, admitting Volsalk pulled him along. The boy proudly announces the completion of his work once again, holding up the corrected figure labeled Gravito. The shattered statue, now lifeless, murmurs in confusion as the empty dungeon floor stretches out silently. The boy beams, revealing he managed to place the statue's soul into a vessel before its body decayed, completing the Shikigami transformation. He looks forward to getting along with his new companion. Meanwhile, the armored figure watches with a hint of jealousy, noting his longer acquaintance and greater power with the boy, wondering if the new recruit's addition is causing his envy. A young woman walks through a city street, her expression somber as she reflects on her recent streaming career. She notes that while her subscriber count used to rise by hundreds or thousands with each video, lately it has plateaued, leaving her worried. She continues to ponder her situation, acknowledging that her view count was boosted by help from Sora-san and an apology video after her return. But beyond that, interest has waned. Suddenly, a figure wearing a mask and hood peers cautiously from behind a pole, embodying the perfect image of a suspicious person. The woman notices the figure and asks if they are looking at the shop behind her. The figure, startled, exclaims in shock and asks how she knows who he is, revealing his identity as Sora-san. The woman, now identified as Rika Owagami, cheerfully reveals herself, prompting the man to shout in surprise. She explains she was thinking of going to a cafe before streaming, while he struggles to understand why she is there. The woman apologizes for calling out to him, acknowledging he's out privately. He explains his disguise isn't to avoid strangers, since they never talk to him anyway. He admits he's socially awkward, so conversations would end quickly in silence, leaving her to wonder if he stepped on a landmine. He tries to leave, but she insists on thanking him properly in person. She expresses deep gratitude for saving her when she was in danger, while he nervously insists she doesn't need to worry about it. She hesitates, wanting to return the favor but struggles to find a way. He smiles warmly, admitting he's not good at talking or cooperating with new people, so there are no plans for now. She eagerly asks if there's anything she can do. Seeing this as a chance to get closer, he nervously responds, unsure how to answer. He nervously asks if she would come with him to buy a hat. Blushing and stumbling over his words, she brightens and agrees, though puzzled by the request. He explains he can't focus on studying Onmyoji arts without wearing something on his head, but hat shops feel intimidating and fashionable, making him anxious about staff judging him. She stifles a laugh, causing him to panic, asking if she's laughing at him. She apologizes, finding it funny that he's scared of store staff glances but not of irregulars, then eagerly suggests they go together and asks what style he wants. He shyly demonstrates with his hand. He clarifies he wants something like a court cap, showing a picture of a 3-star chef wearing one, surprising her with the unusual choice. She wants something more normal so it won't stand out badly, which relieves her companion. In a store filled with hats and clothes, she points out a popular brand with simple items easy to mix into outfits. She recommends a color to brighten his complexion and suggests a bucket hat might suit his face shape. He reacts with surprise, having lost almost all words except those starting with H. He admits being clueless about fashion and unsure how to react, but she encourages him to say if anything catches his eye. He asks if she has anything that would match the Onmyoji clothes he wears during streams, and she imagines him in various quirky hats, including one with a crab design. She apologizes for his disappointed expression, explaining she thought Owagami-san was more knowledgeable about fashion and ended up relying on her. She smiles and says she likes fashion chats but stopped doing them because viewer growth was poor compared to dungeon streaming. He finds that admirable, confessing he wants more viewers but only does what he likes. She praises how everyone accepts him despite complaints and negative opinions. He reveals he uses monsters as shikigami and carries a shopping bag, while she admits she watches all his streams. Negative comments flood in, calling the actions disgusting and murderous, but he explains he receives many remarks from those who can't accept it, like, think about the adventurers they hurt. Walking alongside her, he admits he genuinely wanted companions. Yet, an Onmyoji's role also involves turning companions into shikigami to eliminate threats, bring peace, accumulate good deeds, and purify impurities. He clarifies it's like guiding someone wild to volunteer work, gently forgiven by society. He acknowledges the target needs a strong ego and soul, requiring much spiritual power so he can't do it often. She thinks he's extraordinary and he laughs, saying in the end he's just doing what he wants. She smiles, saying his battles are enjoyable even without unusual projects. Though unsure if it's her place to say, she suggests fans would want to know more about what Owagami-san likes, encouraging him to do what he wants. He asks how she felt when she first started streaming. She laughs, claiming she doesn't remember, but an inner voice calls her a liar, recalling she was happy when viewers enjoyed her streams and streamed without worrying about view counts. He tells her to wait a moment, hinting there might be something good. She agrees hesitantly. She then apologizes for the wait, and he appears holding a stuffed animal, making her nervous as she wonders if it's for her. He presents a boxed, super smooth spoon, explaining it's a recommended utensil for eating soybean tofu, which he uses daily. She reacts with surprise at how specific the gift is, while he beams happily. She thanks him for shopping together and offers the small token. Suddenly, his phone buzzes loudly, drawing their attention. They both check their phones, alarmed by an emergency notification about a dungeon appearing at Tokyo Beer Arena. She notes there was no high magical energy warning despite the dungeon's sudden appearance, and that events are still ongoing as usual. He quietly asks to be excused for a moment as his phone rings again. The boy calls out urgently to Sakuya on the phone, asking if she saw the emergency notification. She confirms she did. Looking concerned, he declares he's heading there immediately to save those caught in the crisis. The girl grips her phone nervously as he tells her he's nearby and suggests they meet up. Warning her to be careful, she hesitates but agrees, and he says goodbye to Owagami-san, promising to come along. The boy insists he's prepared with weapons since he planned to stream after this. Though he admits he might be weaker than Sora-san, the girl acknowledges the danger but asserts she has more combat experience with monsters. She shouts that she also wants to help people in trouble. Her determination clear, the boy smiles warmly, reaching out his hand and agreeing to face the unprecedented crisis together with Owagami-san.